withstood fate as I pray. Unlimited blade works.
This servant, often just known by his class, Archer, is a mysterious anti-hero in constant search of battle. Along with his many weapons, this mysterious warrior is certainly ready for battle in Fate Extella Link. But are you ready to effectively utilize everything he has to offer? Let's jump in to see everything he can do and how he compares to the many other servants standing by for you to use. This Nameless warrior has a normal attack string consisting of 5 attacks. He will spin slash from left to right, repeat the other way, jump and attack, spin his weapons and attack with each, and finish with one big spin and slash. On the whole, this is about as simple as one would wish a normal string would be. Each attack comes out fast, but not too fast as to have trouble timing it out. It's easy to pivot between each attack if you aren't locked on, and they also include some small movement without flinging Archer all over the place. We're off to a good start, but let's see how his unique attacks end up. For his C1 heavy attack, Archer will do a quick step forward before attacking with both of his blades. This is a simple attack, similar to a lot of other heavy attacks, but it's actually quite useful for him in the way that it knocks enemies back, something which makes it perfect for setting up one of your long-range active skills. Without this attack being used first, in certain situations it can be hard to predict your enemy's position, and you can end up whiffing a lot of very important attacks. So take a moment to set up with this if the moment calls for it. Next up, his C2 is a standard aerial launcher, with Archer himself going up with the enemy as he spins his blade. From this position, you can do your own standard 3-hit aerial combo, with his final hit slamming him right back down on the spot. For his C3, he will do a large jump and end with a giant horizontal cut when he reaches the ground. This is both a good way to deal damage and to get space between you and your enemy, working similar to his C1 as a skill setup. His next unique attack is one of his fastest, with Archer immediately launching into a spin with his 2 blades, finishing with a double attack. So far, there hasn't really been a lot to say about his attacks. They've all been standard damagers that give him range from his foes, and honestly, this one is no different. For his final unique attack, Archer will finally live up to his class name and use a bow for once, firing off 3 projectiles in a cone shape in front of him. This attack can be extended to have him fire off a second time, with even more projectiles than the first. I'm not sure if I have to say it, but this attack is great. It's always nice to have a fast ranged attack that hits a very large area, and this is a great one to fit in huge damage to both your target and anyone else in their vicinity at the same time. Seeing as how many of Archer's unique attacks are simply built to set up his later active skills, let's go ahead and jump over to those next. Here I'm going to give a quick demonstration of his skills alongside their descriptions, before we launch into my overall analysis and tips for your own builds. 1. Blade Works. Rain down multiple swords in the space in front of you. 2. Projection Injection. Shoot a volley of self-splitting arrows into the air. 3. Hrunting. Jump and shoot arrows in midair towards the ground. 4. Projection Loading. Buff the twin swords Kansho and Bakuya, increasing the attack range and power of normal attacks. 5. 3 crane wings. Repeatedly project and launch Kansho and Bakuya, and then top it off with a jumping attack. 6. Supreme Mooncell Swords. Project the 3 swords Durandal, Joyus, and Astus Estus continuously. 7. Fake Kalidbolg. Shoot mana-infused arrows in front of you, causing great explosions where they land. First of all, I have to say, don't even bother with Projection Injection. Despite this being one of his archer skills, and thus being super important for consistent rush attacks, the hitbox for this attack is frustrating and very hard to set up. Even if you do set up your foe by knocking them back, the space that it hits is so far away that even then it can still overshoot them. Instead, just bring along Fake Kalidbolg, a much more straightforward and reliable attack with pretty great range to boot. Also, with this one, even if your arrows miss, they explode, so there you go. Next up, Projection Loading is a natural inclusion. Other than his C5, Archer's normal kit exclusively uses swords, something which means that you're going to get a ton of use out of this one. This is something which can also benefit active skills, and on that same token, rather than trying to just make his other ranged skills work besides Fake Kalidbolg, instead I'd recommend just leaning into his blade use and bringing along 3 crane wings as your big damager. It might be a very long animation, but it's able to benefit in range from your buff skill, and can be a great move to have in your pocket anytime you feel like you have an advantage over your enemy. The final skill would really be up to you, but in the same way that I don't recommend projection injection, I'd also just like to fit in here that you probably also shouldn't bother with runting. The attack range on this one is just awful in the opposite direction. It only really hits enemies who are practically beneath you when you've unleashed it, and all in all, it's just pretty unreliable. Without any extra notes to be made on his drive skill and noble phantasm, let's go ahead and get the weigh in for this mysterious servant and see how he holds up. Of the many characters in this game, Archer is one of those which benefits a lot from a very well-considered skill build. With the right skills put on him, almost everything he can do is boosted, something which pushes his already pretty good moveset to even greater heights. If you don't do this and just slap on skills haphazardly, he's going to feel extremely underpowered, with attacks that seem to lack range and skills which seem to lack cohesion. But that's why I make videos like this. With a full understanding of what he can do, along with the knowledge about how it all plays together, it really isn't very hard to make Archer one of the fiercest servants in your roster. The full moveset that he brings ends up being one of the better ones in the game, ending up just slightly below excellence due to his lack of some essentials which I think all the best servants should have, like a stunning skill or more free range built into all of his attacks without the need for buffing. This might seem like a very high standard, but there are some servants on this cast that have those. At the end of the day, this anti-hero still manages to be a great choice in many situations. I guess what I'm really trying to say here is Nameless is not a name you should forget.
What now?
I'll stop it!
I'd like to give a special thank you to my top patrons Minute Rice, Henry Gutierrez, and Ignis Isel, as well as everybody else who's currently supporting me on Patreon. Thank you all very much.